What does Shabbos mean to you? This is Chani Schreiber, and I'd love to delve deeper into this question. So join me in this weekly podcast as we uplift the Shabbos together. Hi, this is the Uplifting Your Shabbos Learning Group, and the book we're learning from is called Shabbos, A Day to Create Yourself. And it's by the chief rabbi, Dr. Warren Goldstien of South Africa, who also started the Shabbos Project, which is a worldwide scheme. And I also like to thank Rabbi Meyerson for sending us out this book. And anyone who doesn't have a copy, you could look at underneath the show notes on the afterwards when I put it on Zoom. You could on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to find out where you could get your books from. So the last few weeks we've been discussing characteristics, and we said that there's 11 chapters that talk about the characteristics of a person and how Shabbos teaches you about these characteristics. And the first one we're going to talk about today is called humbleness. Humbleness, humility, okay, in the ethical will to his son, the Ramban writes, and the ethical will is really cool. We call it Igeres HaRamban, yeah? What should a person be arrogant about? Everything he has comes from Hashem. If he is smart, Hashem gave him the wisdom. And if he's rich, it's the same thing. And also Hashem could take away the richness. So Hashem, Nasein Hashem Lakaki, he gives and he takes away. If you're smart, you know that it has nothing to do with you. Whatever you are, if you know how to draw, it's because Hashem gave you the capability to know how to draw. If you're a good teacher, he gave you the capability to know how to do it. It's all coming from Hashem. So really, if everything comes from him, then why are you arrogant? Okay? Humility is a recognition that whatever we have comes from Hashem alone. We are not superior to any other person because our achievements are gifts from Hashem, from the Creator. The inclination towards arrogance is always present because humans are given creative powers to harness and shape the world. The mandate is fill the earth and conquer it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky and every living thing that moves on the earth. This has led humans to achieve many great things, even flying to the moon. So we see from this, Hashem gives us these capabilities, right? If I make a beautiful drawing and everyone loves it and everyone talks about it, I'm talking because I'm autistic, so the drawing is in my head. But if I do that and I go around saying, well, look, you see how gorgeous it is? I did it. I'm really who am I praising? I'm not praising myself. I'm really praising the gift that God gave me to be able to accomplish drawing, to be able to see and bring it to a piece of paper. That's all I'm doing. So I have nothing to be arrogant about. All I have to be is thankful. But yet we see that people who are very creative, let's say, we've seen it so many times in history, that people who are given these gifts, they become very arrogant and they can lead to the destruction of the world. Now it's unbelievable how we see it in our history, how people could become arrogant and let themselves think that all their talent is theirs. Anything they made. The person who made the shuttle that goes up to the moon, yeah? If he goes around saying, well, I did this is my thing, and he doesn't give Hashem the credit, then it's nothing. And then he becomes a destroyer. So this parsha is Parshas Chukas. And I thought it was, if you look at it, there's a lot of things in it that we could learn this whole midah from. It talks about the paraduma. The paraduma is the red calf that they look for, and it's a big thing about this. Shlomo HaMelech is known as the wisest of all men, right? He's the most, in every place that you read, read about Shlomo HaMelech being very, very wise. But when it comes to the concept of paraduma, he says, I sought wisdom, but it elused me. I can't understand this. This is something that just doesn't make sense to me. The reason for paraduma are hidden from us deliberately. since by its very essence, this mitzvah must defy human reason. Mitzvahs, commandments, such as theft or murder, are well understood even by non-Jew. Everyone understands that if you murder somebody, it's wrong. You're taking away a life. You don't have the permission to take away a life. It's something that you understand. If you steal from somebody, it's wrong. If you are not nice to some, these are very practical things. You can understand what the meaning is, and that's therefore you want to do it, right? But mitzvahs such as para aduma are called chukos, decrees, okay? They're commandments. And we simply must obey as Hashem commanded us to do it. That's it. It's like shatnez, finding wool and linen. There's no reasoning. It doesn't show us why, but we do it because that is the mitzvah of it. If a person thinks he understands the meaning of a mitzvah, like kibbut of aim, or like we were saying before, all those mitzvahs, he fulfills it because he understands it. He appreciates the reasoning behind it. So, I'll do this. It makes sense. This is really good for me. However, when he fulfills a mitzvah, even though he doesn't understand it, he was decreed to do so, it becomes a humble submission. He submits to Hashem's knowledge that this will be good for him. Even though he doesn't understand it, he does it. And to me, it's unbelievable if you think about it. You do everything you do because, okay, it's rote. You do it, and usually you understand what you're doing. But when you don't understand something and you still do it, it's true. It's on your humility. So, my husband was lucky enough to learn by Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. I don't know if you ever heard of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, but he was a big Paisek Hadar. And I was talking to my husband, I was saying, I know that he was a very humble man, but he also understood that he had to appreciate what he was. He was a Paisek Hadar. He was the head of his generation when it came to halacha. Everybody would go to him. Whatever. Even today, we still use whatever he said. We'll say, Reb Moshe said. My husband, as a Rosh Hashiva, how did you realize that he was able to keep feeling humble, but he knew who he was? So first he said he knew who he was by a very easy way of understanding it. So how? When many years, when he was in his later years, actually, he needed an operation on his heart. Everybody said, you could do it, it would be good. And he was very adamant that he had to speak to the professor who was doing the operation, and he wanted to make sure to understand exactly what was happening. So the professor gave him to understand, and he told him that we're going to go in here, we're going to do this. And then afterwards, somebody said to him, and then he was okay, he was going to have the operation. So someone said to him, why did you make the professor answer so many different questions? He was like really going deep into this operation. And Rabbi Moshe said that the reason he wants to ask is because when Mashiach comes, there's going to be a table with all people who were Paisek Hadars of their generation, who were big in their generation. And these people are like Kohanim in a way, and what the thing with the Kohen is you shouldn't have a mum. A mum is like a cut or
a blemish.
A blemish, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the word. Is a blemish. And the blemish, if you have it, then you can't be like a Kohen Gadol. You can't be sitting on this table. So what he wanted to know was if this was going to leave a blemish on his body, because he knew that he was the Paisek Hadar from that generation. Now, if you think about it, that was quite amazing. He knew that who he was. He knew I was given the gift of a good head to be a manhig of this dog. But on the other hand, my husband was telling me when it came to camp, every year they all went from the yeshiva, they went up to the Catskills, they went to a camp. And in the camp, camp, I don't know if you all know what an American camp is, but they go away for 8 weeks, not for 4 weeks. They go away for 8 weeks to the mountains. In the mountains, there's there's a whole unit where they play, they get together, they do football, and besides that, they learn. So in the mountains, there's also families come with kids, and he said that the most amazing thing was Rabbi was he used to sit there with all the children, and they would sit on his lap, and he would talk to them on their level, and he said you could see the anivus, you could see the humbleness of the man when he was with the children and with other people. He never showed off who he was, but he did know who he was, and that is being humble. So a humble person knows his capabilities, knows what Hashem gave him, knows that he's good at certain activities. He knows that it comes from God, and he's humble enough to accept that it's not him who's doing it. He's being given that gift. And to me, I thought that was quite a deep thing of thinking of Reb Moshe Feinstein sitting with the children on his knees and talking to them like, he was nothing. He wasn't a big man. Very good. Anyway, first of all, I wanted to tell you one thing before. Hi, Rachel. I wanted to tell you that I put underneath, if you see in the chat, there's a link for the new magazine, because we're starting to do the magazine in a different form. We're doing it in a digital form, and it will be coming out once a month instead of once every 3 months. And I can't wait to see you all next week in Mitzvah Hashem. Anyway,
great. Thank you so much.
Take care.